Welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. The Pharmacy Leaders Podcast is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, with interviews and advice on building your professional network, brand, and a purposeful second income from students, residents, and innovative professionals.
At Drake, it all starts with you, and it starts in your first semester. Together, we'll build a path toward your career vision and goals. Whether you're a student in pharmacy, occupational therapy, athletic training, or pursuing other health sciences careers, you can prepare for a career in areas as diverse as patient care, management, public health, research, and more. Drake is where an immersive curriculum combined with community service and a vast alumni network enrich and challenge you long before you walk across the stage at graduation. This is where you build the unshakable foundation that lasts a lifetime.
Hey guys, it's Kristen here, and today I have Tessa, who is a current P3 with me, so thank you for coming in.
Of course.
So today I just kind of wanted to ask about how your journey with your physical or personal training certificate is going and how you're going to adapt that into pharmacy. So if you want to introduce yourself and kind of give us the rundown.
Yeah, so like Kristen said, my name is Tessa Heitkamp. I'm a current P3 here at Drake University, and I recently completed a personal training certification. And the reason why I kind of decided to venture off into personal training is because I see the pharmacy world going into more chronic disease management and possibly helping prescribers prescribe medications and help patients adhere to their chronic conditions. And I think a big part of managing chronic disease is also exercise. It seems like a lot of the risk factors for developing chronic disease is lifestyle modifications and lifestyle habits and what you're eating, how you're moving your body. And so I think that as healthcare professionals and pharmacists that we play an integral role in helping patients not only manage their chronic disease, but hopefully helping them prevent a chronic disease. So the whole reason behind becoming a personal training is hopefully to help patients who are at high risk for certain chronic disease, especially diabetes, type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and kind of helping them before it develops into a chronic disease, or maybe helping manage those diseases through lifestyle habits like exercise.
Cool. So do you think you'll incorporate this into, once you get into your pharmacy career, will you help it with counseling, or where are you going to try to implement your new certificate?
Yeah, so I will definitely use it in my career. Once I graduate with a PharmD and know a little bit more about the chronic conditions and study them for a while, that's when I'll typically start to work with patients like that. So my long-term goal, I guess, hopefully within 5 years of graduating from Drake University, is to go into a little bit more of pharmacy consulting. So I'm also trying to complete a health coaching certification at the moment, and utilizing health coaching and personal training along with my background knowledge in pharmacy to take patients who are at high risk for cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and maybe are on maybe are on blood pressure medications or statins and have high cholesterol, and maybe are metformin, and using health coaching and personal training to maybe manage their disease better so it doesn't progress, and helping people that have hypertension and high blood cholesterol, hopefully getting patients off those meds and being able to stabilize their blood pressure and high cholesterol with lifestyle habits.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice, I guess, do you have for somebody who maybe is interested in this, and how, what your journey, if there's P1s that want to go on this, what kind of advice would you give them?
My advice would be to just go for it. There's a lot of different positives to getting a personal training certification and going for a health coaching certification, not only helping your patient population, but also the people around you. So there's a couple girls that I'm working with right now, and they don't have, the risk factors for chronic disease, but it's kind of fun if you are into that physical area and you like working out and you like kind of connecting the two with pharmacy and lifestyle habits. I say just kind of go for it. I did my certification through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, or NASM for short, and they have a great 12-week program that I completed and then went on to complete my certificate and passed on the first try. So they did a good job. And also, I think sometimes it's hard for students to see, like, oh, I have to focus on pharmacy and meds and what I can do with meds. And while, yes, that is our job as a pharmacist, we also learn in every section of therapeutics and even in self-care how lifestyle modifications are important to the prevention and management of chronic disease. And if we are going to go into that sphere, I think it's really important to know types of exercises or types of interviewing or advocacy skills in order to help patients manage those diseases, and knowing that some exercise is actually contraindicated for certain types of high blood, diseases like high blood pressure and diabetes, and depending on how far along you are. And a normal person or a normal pharmacist who doesn't have that background knowledge might not understand that and may say, go for a run, where in reality, going for a run could hurt them, So having the background knowledge of what exercises are appropriate for certain people with chronic diseases, I think is very interesting to know about. And if you like that field, I just say go for it.
Awesome. I was gonna say that taught me something new. I would be like, hey, go for a run.
Yeah.
Going through that process too, was it easy then to fit into your current schedule, or did you have to make some sacrifices?
I think being P3 spring semester, it was quite easy. If I was a P2 going back into spring semester, I think it would be a lot more difficult, because you are reading 2 or 3 chapters, and I recommend reading the whole chapters from book, and you're also depending on what type of program you go into. So they have like a self-study, or they have the 12 weeks where you get a mentor and stuff like that, at different costs. I probably spent about 6 hours a week creating and finishing the certificate. So if you have that time, go for it.
Awesome. Well, I love it. Let's see. And then, did you think having a Drake background made it easy to complete it, or do you think Drake prepares you to supplement your degree and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. Drake University always pushes using our degrees at our highest level, and self-care is actually what sparked my interest in going into... I've always wanted to become a personal trainer. I was always active in high school in sports, and I loved working out, and I loved helping other people develop workout programs, so it's always been an interest of mine. But it wasn't until self-care where I realized that marrying pharmacy and personal training kind of made sense, as well as health coaching, because I remember just being baffled by all of the things that I didn't realize about over-the-counter products. And so if I didn't realize it, how is a typical person who doesn't have my background knowledge supposed to understand it, in regards also to other lifestyle habits? So self-care was a big eye-opener for me. And like I said, in therapeutics, every single disease state that we go through, we also get non-pharmacological ways to make them better or help manage or prevent them, as well as working with Dr. Stelter, who runs kind of the health coaching class here at Drake University. She has really inspired me to take that on fully, and I think health coaching will be a big deal in pharmacy to come. So having health coaching and personal training, you can be kind of a one-stop shop for those lifestyle habits, other than nutrition, general nutrition advice. But yeah.
Awesome. So one day, do you see everybody just working together like this?
I hope so. I think I don't want people to think that I don't think medications have their place, because medications are for acute conditions and managing those chronic conditions that are past, lifestyle habit change. So I think that in a retail setting, in a community setting, I think having a health coaching certification is something that I think everyone should have or develop those skills, at least. Not necessarily having a certification, but having the health coaching skill set. And then on top of that, if you would like to offer a service, having health coaching and personal training maybe be a side service of, depending on the pharmacist's interests. I don't think, obviously there are personal trainers out there, but I think having the background knowledge of the pharmacy aspects and managing chronic disease kind of gives you another realm to look at, that maybe a typical personal trainer wouldn't understand some of the meds that their patients or their clients are on, or some of the disease states. They have a general idea about how meds affect disease states and people, but having a pharmacist look at it, I think, adds a whole new view, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And then you kind of mentioned just there that you'd said at least having pharmacists that have these skills for somebody who maybe might not be able to put in the time to get the personal trainer certificate. What kind of skills do you think that they should develop?
I think reflective listening is a huge skill that needs to be addressed in the community setting. I say that because, we're so used to just hearing patients' problems and then kind of just giving off generic fixes to those problems. And reflective listening really allows not only you to develop patient rapport and trust and a relationship, but also it helps you make sure that you're understanding what the patient needs and what the patient is feeling and what the patient's wants and goals are. And helping patients realize that it's a team and we're not just here to tell you something. It's about creating small, short-term goals, smart goals that are realistic, and also long-term goals, and kind of helping the patient progress to meeting those long-term goals. So I think, reflective listening, goal setting, appreciative inquiry, which is this idea of how can you get the patient to identify and utilize their own strengths and maybe strengths that are around them to overcome challenges in their disease management, and also creating just a positive environment for patients. When a patient is diagnosed with a chronic disease, especially diabetes, they are just overwhelmed with the amount of things that they are told to change in their life. So not only lifestyle habits, but now you have a bunch of medications that you have to monitor, and you have to monitor a whole bunch of other stuff. And if you don't, it could get worse. And if it gets worse, then, amputations happen. And, it's just this whirlwind that I think patients just get completely overwhelmed, and it's easy for people to just say, well, I'm just going to give up, and I know a couple of people from my high school, like teachers, that have talked about that, getting diagnosed, and they just feeling like, well, if they don't change everything and they don't change everything right now, they're going to die. So I think having these skills to pick apart a couple of goals of, okay, what can we work on now? What does the patient want to work on now? to set goals and kind of navigating them to eventually changing all of those things that their doctor wants them to change, instead of being completely overwhelmed and trying to change 10 things at once, and it's just not a reality that we can do that.
I definitely like that you said it's very like patient-centered, and what are they going to even do? Because you could list a laundry list of things for somebody to do, and finding their motivation to get there is a key part.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I absolutely loved talking to you today. Do you have any other last like comments, little snippets that you'd want to say? It's fine if you don't, but
I think the only comment I have is pharmacy is a profession with a bunch of opportunities that are to come. I think we're still growing rapidly, and if you have something that you're interested in and you're not sure if it exactly fits the pharmacy criteria or what we're supposed to be, air quotes, supposed to be doing, that doesn't mean that there isn't a realm where a pharmacist could be a part of it. So if you're passionate about something and you think that you could help patients with that passion, even though it doesn't fit the stereotypical pharmacist, I say go for it and be that entrepreneur and be that person that decides, I'm going to try this, and we'll see where it goes from there.
That's awesome. I like it.
Right.
Just do it, guys. Just get out there. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Support for this episode comes from the audiobook Memorizing Pharmacology, a relaxed approach. With over 9,000 sales in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, it's the go-to resource to ease the pharmacology challenge. Available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon.com, in print, ebook, and audiobook. Thank you for listening to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. Be sure to share the show with the hashtag #PharmacyLeaders.